This class is from Chapter 12 of Chuck Smith's book, Calvary Chapel Distinctives. This lesson is called Ventures of Faith. Charles Ward Smith's life was filled with these ventures of faith. To put it in another way, he was willing to take risks. Some of them turned into wonderful works of God. Some didn't. In the book, Chuck talked about some of the ventures of faith he took over the years, whether it was buying the K-Wave radio station, buying the Murrieta Hot Springs property, or helping to start the Harvest Crusades. I'd like to share a clip of Chuck sharing about how he took the step way back in the early 1960s, that venture of faith, to leave a prosperous church of 300 in Corona and pastor the little tiny church of 25 in Costa Mesa called Calvary Chapel, long before the Jesus movement began. You're going to hear that it was filled with the same kinds of things that you and I might go through if we were thinking about decisions like this.
I want to talk a little bit about what happened at Calvary Chapel and how God was getting you ready. Did the Lord come to you one morning and, maybe the Mission Impossible theme song began to play and a voice said to you, "Hello, Charles Ward Smith. Should you decide to accept this mission, if not, this cassette tape will self-destruct in 10 seconds. It'll be a cassette tape because that was the technology of the day." I'm referring to a Mission Impossible, but you didn't know it was coming, did you?
No, I surely didn't.
So you're pastoring these different churches. Your most successful church to date was Corona, California. Things are really cranking, but you get this invitation to come to Costa Mesa to a fledgling little congregation called Calvary Chapel. And I don't think Kay was real excited about it, but you said, "I feel this is what the Lord wants me to do," right?
Very interesting how that worked out because basically, that's the gist of the story. This was the second time that we were in Corona. Mm-hmm. And a group of guys out there said, how about starting an independent church with us here in Corona? And I've been with the denomination for many years, and I wasn't really happy. I didn't really fit. And so the opportunity to start an independent church was very exciting to me. And so we went out to Corona. We had a home in Newport Beach, and we had leased that out, and we went on out to Corona, and we bought a brand new home in Corona in the new subdivision, and it was just really great, and God was blessing. The church was just really growing like everything, and just, it's just sort of a dream fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Yet it was interesting because a fellow who had been in the church that I pastored in Huntington Beach was going to this little church, Calvary Chapel, and he was saying, our pastor is resigning and we need a pastor to take over, and why don't you, come on or think about coming on down? And I said, well, I've always liked living down in that area, and so I would, prayerfully consider it. And so I started praying about it, and I mentioned it to Kay, and she said, "You got to be kidding. We've got this new home out here, and the church is growing. People love you here. Why in the world would you even think of going down, there to that little church down there?" And I said, "Well, honey, all I said was I was going to pray about it. I didn't say I was going to go." Well, she said, "You don't have to pray about something like that. You know that God wouldn't call you, to go to something like that when He's blessing the ministry here." And I said, "Well, honey, I just said I would pray." And so we really couldn't talk about it.
This is the negotiating you were talking about earlier with the marriage and
right.
The successful long marriage.
This is one of those.
Little give and take there.
Right. So I was teaching a Bible study down here in a home in Costa Mesa, and the people in the Bible study were encouraging me to come on down. And so I went home from the Bible study that I had here in Costa Mesa, got home about midnight, and Kate was up, and she met me at the door, which had never happened before. Not at that time of the night, you know.
Yeah.
And so I could tell that she had been crying. And I said, are the kids okay? You know, are the kids all right? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, you've been crying. She said, yes. I said, well, what is it? She said, well, the Lord's been speaking to me. And I said, well, what's he telling you? And she said, he is telling me that you are the husband and you are the one that is the minister, and you are the one that has to listen to the Lord about the ministry. And if the Lord is calling you, I can't really stand in the way. I've got to submit to you in this. And I said, oh, honey, that's great, because I said at the at the class tonight, they were pressing me to see if I would make the decision to come on down. And so she said, don't talk to me. Don't tell me anything about it. I don't want to hear it. I didn't say I was ready to move. I said, I'm ready to submit, but don't press me any further than that. And so she did submit, and we came on down, and it's just been exciting.
The rest is history.
The rest.
And let's give Kay her.
Let me talk a little bit about Calvary Fullerton's Ventures of Faith. Though Calvary Chapel of Fullerton is minuscule compared to the things that God did through Chuck, I know that I had to learn to take a venture of faith when we started. I was pretty happy and content with being an assistant pastor at Calvary Chapel of Anaheim. I got a regular salary. I had the opportunity to use my gift of teaching on Sunday nights. My kids got free tuition in a Christian school, yet we faced this nagging thought that it was time to move on. The idea was pretty well formed in the summer of 1994, and we began to pray about how it would happen. I thought I had a great idea of waiting until we could gather a team of 30 people to help us plant the church, kind of patterned after David's 30 mighty men. Sound pretty good. But as summer turned into fall, I was feeling convicted. I realized that the best way to start a church was to take a step of faith. One of the verses that God used was Hebrews 11:6. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is the rewarder of those who diligently seek him. If we wanted our new church to be pleasing to God, we needed to exercise faith. So we decided to set a date to start the church, whether or not we had our 30 mighty men. I gave my notice at Calvary Anaheim, and we planned on starting 2 months later. It was actually kind of interesting to note that when we started, we actually did have 30 families. Now, if you talk to Caleb, he will tell you similar stories from his life, some of the ventures of faith he's taken. When he and Kim decided to go to the mission field in Hungary, he had to take a huge step. He left a very successful job leading a prosperous karate studio. Their family was growing. They had just purchased their first house. He was willing to give all of that up and take a job on the mission field where he would at times wonder where their next paycheck was coming from. Here's a clip from 2009.
Welcome to Hungary. Oh, it's good to have Pastor Rich here. We want to say hi to you all. We love you and we miss you. Yeah. Go ahead.
It is awesome to see all your guys' messages and to be getting all the visuals of your smiling faces. It's one thing to get the emails and know that you guys are praying, but it was neat that Rich brought over just a bunch of little snapshots and videos of just who you guys are and what you guys are doing. It's just fun reminders. So we are totally blessed. We're hoping that Rich is able to bring the report and share with you guys some of the fun things that we get to do. But once again, we acknowledge that we get to do it because you guys are so faithful with what you guys are doing there. So we love you, and we are thinking about you, appreciating all your prayers for us, and hopefully we'll be talking to you guys soon. So come over.
Bye. Love you.
Say bye, Justice.
Over the years, Caleb would see the Bible College in Hungary grow and prosper, And then he'd be willing to even give that up and move back to Fullerton, where I would be handing the baton to him as senior pastor. There were several principles that Chuck laid out over the chapter. These are the kinds of things that can help us take those scary steps of faith. Number one was the idea that God can do anything. The principle can be seen with Jonathan and his armor bearer. They had a correct theology of their understanding of God when it came to taking on the Philistines. It says that Jonathan said to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing restrains the Lord from saving by many or by few." In reality, if God is real, and he is, anything can happen. Second principle, I'm going to call it admit your mistakes. It's important to realize that you may make a mistake. And if you realize you've made a mistake, don't be shy about pulling the plug and admitting your failure. Now, sometimes God will lead us into an adventure and we need to persevere through difficult times. But sometimes we've just simply been mistaken and God wasn't leading us at all. Don't try to keep something alive that has died. Don't be afraid, because, it is better to have tried and failed than never to have tried at all because of fear. A third principle is to simply take that step of faith. God is looking for people through whom he can work. 2 Chronicles 16:9, "For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him." God is looking to work through someone willing to be open to him. If you think that God might be leading you, take your shoe off, put your toe in the water, and give it a try. I don't know if you've watched any of this new streaming TV show, The Chosen, or not. It's pretty exciting stuff, and it has gone viral, being seen by millions of people around the world. The director of the show is a fellow named Dallas Jenkins. He's a strong evangelical Christian with a background in making movies. But before he started the Chosen series, he went through a dark time, having failed with one of his movies. When the idea of this TV series came about, Dallas was afraid to try it. The other day, Dallas posted a clip of what helped him turn the corner, take the step of faith, and start down the path of developing the series, which has now had an impact across the world. Listen to him.
So this is Alex, and Alex is the man. I'm going to get emotional. I didn't expect that. So many of you know this story of how when I was at my lowest point of my career, when my previous movie had failed, and my wife and I were home alone and praying and crying, and really I didn't know what was next in my life. And God spoke to my wife very powerfully and clearly about the story of the feeding of the 5,000 and the phrase, "I do impossible math." And that sustained us for that day, but we didn't really know what it meant. And we weren't sure what the future held. And that night at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, when I was working on a memo to analyze everything that had gone wrong and everything that I had done wrong so that I wouldn't repeat the mistakes of my past that had led to that moment, a Facebook message pops up at 4 in the morning. And Alex and I have never met. This is actually the first time we've ever spoken verbally. He's at an airport in Chicago right now. He's about to leave in just a few moments. And he didn't say hi. He didn't say hello. We're just Facebook friends. We've talked maybe once a year. All it said was, "Remember, gosh, I guess I'm really tired. Your job is not to feed the 5,000. Your job is just to provide the loaves and fish." And I remember I said, "What are you doing up this late?" He said, "I'm in Romania on a different time zone." And I said, "I just need to ask, why did you say that?" Because he had no idea, of course, that all day long that story from the Gospels had been what we'd been talking about. And I said, "Well, why did you tell me that?" And he goes, "Oh, that wasn't me. God just wanted me to share that with you." So I just wanted you to meet Alex. And Alex, I just want to ask you real quickly, can you tell your part of that story? What was it? Because I think this is really beneficial for all of us. Anytime that we feel a prompting to share something with someone. I mean, what you did literally changed my life, and I think it is very largely responsible for launching this project, because it allowed me to be open to something that was really crazy and that didn't make any sense. And I'm a different person because of that night. And I wouldn't have been able to do this project if I hadn't changed. So can you just talk through briefly what caused you to send that text?
Sure. Well, first off, Dallas, I appreciate everything you said about me, but I'm just a vessel. I just did what God asked me to do. So I don't look at this as if I've done anything special. You're the one that's done all the work and put in the elbow grease. And, you know, you and I, like, the story's totally true the way you've told it. This is the first time we've actually talked in person or even on the phone, I think.
Right.
And, you know, I used to work at Family Christian stores. I was the movie buyer, so I was involved in all these different projects. And I ended up getting laid off right before they shut down. And I remember reading before the Resurrection of Gavin Stone came out, I had sent you a Facebook message saying, man, this trailer looks awesome. I can't wait for the movie to come out. Well, right after that, I get laid off. I'm in Romania. My uncle was sick. And it dawned on me, I'm like, hey, that movie came out this weekend. I wonder how it did. So I get online and I'm like, oh, this is not good. And of course, you know, knowing something about the movie business, I knew what you must have been going through. And I'm kind of agonizing the whole time. I'm like, man, this is terrible. And my mom and I are actually walking to the grocery store, because that's what you do in a foreign country. And so the way back, God tells me to send you this message. And I'm like, really, God? Like, I don't know this guy. You want me to just say that? Yep, that's what I want you to say. Really? That's what you want me to say? Yep, that's what I want you to say. I said, all right. So there you go. I sent it, and I'm thinking, oh, well, I have no idea. And literally, you know, 2 seconds later, your message pops back. And I mean, it was just incredible for me to just know that, hey, this wasn't anything I did, but it was God working through me to impact the world literally through this project, which I just, hats off to you guys, Dallas, for the work that you guys have done with this.
Here's one last exhortation. When I talk about making a venture of faith, I'm not saying that God is going to do something big, so big that you'll make the headlines. No. It's really about learning to hear and obey God. There are many things God wants to do that might seem small in comparison to some of the examples I've given, but they are all so very important. We want to learn to step out in faith. I hope that helps.